Welcome to Ren Behind the Practice. I'm Sophie Campisi. I'm a holistic business strategist, and I spend a lot of my time in conversation with practitioners, coaches, and healers about the behind the scenes of their businesses. What I started noticing is that some of the most honest, important conversations about building a practice were happening quietly, one-on-one, behind the scenes, and often in isolation. Most practitioners are incredibly skilled at the work they do with their clients, but very few of us were ever taught or trained in how to build a successful startup business. And suddenly we've been left to figure it out on our own. This podcast exists to bring those conversations forward, the dreams, the uncertainty, the highs and lows, the recalibrations, and the messy middle. My hope is that by normalizing these conversations, we can soften the stigma, feel less alone, and start closing the gaps together. Today's guest is Filipa Vieira. Filipa is a self-trust coach who helps self-aware women stop second-guessing themselves and start making decisions from a place of calm certainty. But it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for showing up and having this conversation with me.
Thank you for having me, Sophie. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Before we look behind the scenes, can you share with us a little bit more about the work that you do?
Yeah, so I became a coach and I've chosen to be a self-trust coach because I understood the patterns that most of us live in, which is the overthinking loop, the living on autopilot. And one of the reasons I've chosen to help people with it's mainly women is because I lived it. I have that live experience, and obviously it's I can help other people better because I also lived it. I've noticed that we live on autopilot for so long that we just completely forget about ourselves. We have no clue who we are, what we like, because we wake up, we do the same thing every day, we go to bed and we overthink about the day, what people said, and we just constantly and there's I also feel like people actually feel inside of them that like there's got to be something more, and I know there is something more because I'm living the more right now. I could, if I didn't had worked on myself the way I did, I would still be living on autopilot. And I worked really hard to understand the patterns. And that's what I help people understanding as well. And sometimes it's like little things, like being present. When was the last time that someone actually been fully present? Because we always rushing. We have no idea. Like, when was the last time I actually had to Google? This sounds really silly, but I actually had to Google in the beginning of my healing journey, what does being in a present moment means? And I practice it. I physically had to practice. And now it's just part of me. I can sit in my sofa or in my garden and actually enjoy and be there and watch the kids playing fully. And when that happens, I just have this immense joy in my chest. It's like this beautiful joy and peace that I'm finally able to enjoy life and the little things that are right in front of us that most of the times, most women especially, find it so stressful. And also, I'm such more calmer with my kids, and I'm able to listen to them and actually pay attention to them, which is something so it's so important. We should be doing that regardless, but because we're so consumed in our own heads, in our own problems that we think that we have, we just completely forgot how to enjoy the little moments. And that's what I want to remind people of.
Is the main way that you work with your clients one-on-one?
Yes. I have a 90 minutes reset call. Some Most of the women that I work with, they are already self-aware. So they're self-aware, they understand their patterns, they know what's happening, but they can't quite just have that click to move forward. So they are still in the loop, which is what the reset call helps them with, which is understanding the loop and actually, because sometimes all we need and all people need is really like someone to tell them and be specific, like, this is what's happening right now. This is what you're doing. And I normally set up some goals as well. just practices so they can keep practicing if they don't want to go into the one-on-one coaching, but that's normally doesn't happen. They normally realize, okay, I need more work. Let's do the one-on-one coaching afterwards, which is great.
How are these clients? You've been doing this for a couple of years, two-ish, let's say, and you mentioned to me that your work, your practice, your business, it is growing. How are people finding you? How are these women finding you? How are y'all connecting?
Well, social media, of course. I have my website as well, which is myname.com, filipavieira.com. And that's where most people find me, but mainly on social media, Facebook and TikTok. I always share tips. And actually, I do actually explain the nervous system regulation because a lot of people don't realize that most of the times when you just find yourself in that pattern and that loop is because your body is just reacting to the safe what the body feels safe. And well, I've noticed that a lot of people don't actually realize that the body is a really big part of it. So I share a lot about it, which is actually connecting, and people are starting to understand, and that's how they reach out to me because it just makes sense. It's a lot better to be on camera and explain things to people because and it does take some time for people to understand. I mean, I know that because it did took me some time to understand it. Not everyone just gets it straight away. It's like I had this conversation the other day and I said, ask your body, what does it need? And that person was like, how am I going to do that? Like, I don't understand. Just relax for a second, deep breath, ground yourself, and actually ask your body, what does he need? And that person was like, okay, I'm going to try, but I'm not sure. I said, just try it. Give it time because your body's not going to tell you. It can take 24 to 48 to 72 hours for it actually to works, but it does work. And I'm sure you lived the experience of it. So am I, and so many other people are. But there's still a very big percentage of people in this world that do not understand. And then people, all they do is consume the social media and save, which they're never going to go back to it. But they saved it because they like it and they think, I'm going to go back to it. But then again, they start the rush of the day and then they never actually go back to what's important. But just practice it. It's so important. And I find that if you have to do it on your own, it's 10 times worse. It's like you coaching someone for free. That person is not going to put 100% of themselves. Same thing with social media. You save a video, you're not going to use that video again. I guarantee you. You need support. And a lot of people do take time to understand they need support. But when they actually have the support and they invest in themselves, which is so important, it's not, it's like you doing a course. But if you're doing a course, just watching it is not the same thing as you actually having the support of a coach or a teacher or a healer or a therapist, whatever it is, to actually be there with you and help you through the process and make you accountable and setting up goals. And so it's so, 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 so important to actually have support in your journey to actually become a better person.
Is there any particular social media platform that you have found to be more effective for you putting your content out where people are actually finding you and reaching out to you?
I find TikTok, it's definitely, I've tried LinkedIn and no offense, but all I get on LinkedIn is a connection that I know immediately is going to send me an essay with trying to sell me something. So that went out down the hill straight away. Facebook, I'm not going to say Facebook is bad, but again, there's quite a few social media platforms. And on the end of the day, we try them all. Yeah. And then we choose which one is better for us. And I've tried them all. And for me is right now is the better. And also I enjoy showing my face on camera and going out in the garden and just record my thoughts or being in my robe in my pajamas. No one's going to judge me on the end of the day. And I do get a lot of interaction and I find that most of my ideal clients are there, definitely.
When you look ahead to the next 6 to 12 months, what goals do you have for your work and for your business?
I am currently doing my NLP master's course, and that's probably going to take me another 6 months. So that's my goal for the next 6 months. I'm also doing my holistics course, and I have a few breathwork sessions booked in, which I'm looking forward for it. And I'm really looking forward to incorporate all of it into my coaching because I think it's so important to be mindful. A lot of people don't understand how to be mindful and take the time for themselves as well. Even like those 5 minutes, we do meditation too, but a lot of people don't do meditation, even just having the 5 minutes to sit with yourself. So my goal for the next 6 months is to finish my master's with NLP and to just enjoy life and have a thriving business where I can help women all around the world.
When it comes to getting to that growth and finding those women that you can help and enjoying that, getting to that place of thriving, whatever that is for you, what do you feel like you need to do to get there? Or do you feel like you're guessing? Or do you feel like you have a good idea for how to get to that point?
I have a structure and I've figured that out. I've tried different things. I have a structure. Consistency is key. I'm obsessed with developing at the minute, and I think that's is so important as well for people to you have to be disciplined and obsessed with what you're doing. And for me right now is the learning. Because like I said, I never once in my life I thought I would be learning what I've learned so far and building what I'm building. So I am so invested in my own self development, and that is never ever going to stop. And I think that is key for success, regardless. It doesn't matter, like I said before as well, like mistakes, failures aren't failures, are lessons learned. If I fail at something right now, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to see what I failed, I'm going to analyze it, and I'm going to make it better. I'm not going to sit on my couch and cry because I failed. That is not that's not who I am. And I think it's focusing. I know it's I'm going to be having a successful business and I believe in myself regardless. So that there's a combination of structure, belief, and self-development. And I think all combined at the same time is just there's no way anyone can lose anything.
So far on your building journey, has there been anything that has felt heavier than you thought it would starting your own business? I have a little more context before we started recording that you were working, would you have called it corporate, what you were doing before?
Hospitality, restaurants, not so
Yeah,
much corporates. Yeah,
just,
just
but
very
in a
busy all the time.
busy, more in a, yeah, you were an employee. So now that you are an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, has there anything that has felt heavier than it should so far on your building journey?
I think probably the thing that felt more heavy was overcoming the limiting beliefs that I had that I couldn't do it, or mainly the limiting belief that I couldn't do something for myself, that I had it to work because that's how I grew up. You have to have a job and you have to work for someone, and I was that person. I think that was probably the overcoming for me when it comes to business because I've always worked in businesses and I've always been a manager. So I know how a business works. I know the pressure of the business. I worked in hospitality for 20 years, and unless you work in a hospital, a restaurant industry is as bad in all levels. Okay. And I've worked with independent people that made me be like, no, I am never going to have my own business because I've seen how much they put in, which was really, really bad. And they actually end up destroying their businesses by doing that as well. So I have a background of business experience in how it should run. Actually, my parents had their own restaurants back in the days, and I've grew up inside of it, and I grew up inside of businesses, and I know my strength. I know what I mean. Obviously, this is being a coach and having an online business is completely different. I still have to have structure and be organized with myself and my time because I also have a family to look after. So it's as long as I do something every day, whether it's 3 tasks or 5 tasks that moves me forward, that's all I need. And I don't think anyone should be putting pressure on themselves when they're starting a business, because that's why so many people actually collapse, because they put so much pressure on themselves that then it's not moving them anywhere because they're not actually doing the tasks that actually is going to move them forward. And I learned that the hard way as well. It's a learning curve. Like again, mistakes are lessons learned. They're not failures.
Has there been any part, or does it feel like any part of the startup entrepreneurship journey that feels especially unclear or uncertain?
Right now, I feel I'm in the right path. Again, this all comes to choosing your social media platform because we have to learn the actual platform, what to talk about it, what not to talk about it. So I think once we figure that out, it's easier. It gets easier. That those first few months are there are going to be a lot of questions. It's going to have a lot of doubts. You're going to have the imposter syndrome. You're going to be constantly be thinking, why is this person that just started around the same time is already, or sometimes people are going to be looking at coaches that have been doing it for years. Why do they have it, but I don't have it? Well, because once they never gave up. Two, they found their strategy. Three, they were consistent every single day. They were showing up regardless whether they wanted or not. I've been through all of that. So my advice is do not give up. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Your grow is your grow. What the others are doing is their business, not your business. You can learn from them, but don't compare yourself to them because that is a big mistake. And that's actually going to make people struggle more and have a really bad mindset as well. Everyone works differently, everyone learns differently, everyone does things differently. We just have to keep focus on our goals and stop comparing ourselves to people that are already successful. We should learn from them, never compare to them.
Totally. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's for so many reasons and many reasons that you mentioned. Plus, you don't actually know how it is. So you are seeing a highlight reel and you really don't know even how it's going. And it's just like, it's so hard. And there's a lot of course, like the cliche term is you're comparing yourself to everyone's highlight reel. And you don't know the internals. You don't know, even on the business side, how it's going. Someone could have a lot of
Mm,
followers, but aren't necessarily thriving in their business. Or sometimes people are getting a lot of clients, but they don't feel confident still because it's a little too chaotic and they don't have a lot of clarity and or simplicity or whatever it could be. So yeah, it is, comparison is the thief of joy, but I think it's more than that saying. I think it really is just like, it's not very helpful. Like it's not very effective to
yeah,
do.
absolutely.
What else? Has anything else been harder than you thought it would be on this entrepreneurship journey?
Because I'm a mum, I think probably the hardest thing is to find time to actually focus. Because I know once I open my laptop, I don't even pay attention to what's going around me. So in the beginning was because I was building and you in that stage of building, you're so focused, you learning. It's like the moment you open the laptop, you just don't pay attention to anything else. Like I've burned dinner many times by doing that. So it's fine for me. It's sometimes finding the time. It's a lot better, but it's finding the right time. But again, this is where organization comes in place and giving myself little tasks that I know that are going to be better and are actually going to move me forward than have a massive list of things that it just makes you feel busy, but you're not actually doing anything that actually is important to move you forward. Definitely. That was another learning curve, to be honest. But we all go through the same thing.
And it's constant. I think one of the things that I'm passionate about is that, and it comes up with so many people. And, I don't want to be confrontational to anyone, but I do try to, if I feel like there's permission or trust enough built to say, like, how are you measuring the results? Like, are you really checking to see what is the action that you're taking and is it actually working instead of just
Mm,
doing and thinking that because we're doing more, things are good? I feel like there's that conditioning that we've had where more is better, more is good, more is better. So even if we aren't sure what's moving the needle, if we feel like we did a lot, like we feel good or we feel accomplished, but at a certain point, it's like, yeah, but is what we're doing actually
mm,
effective? Like, is
mm.
that the
Yeah,
right one to take? Or are you just doing stuff, feeling good about it because it's easing your anxiety because you feel like you did a lot? But when it comes to like, is it moving the needle? Like, is it actually moving the needle? And I try to, again, like I'm not trying to be confrontational to anyone, but I am trying to bring that thought process to people's building process because just doing isn't enough. It needs to
yeah,
be effective action. It needs to be like actually working. And I don't think because so many of us weren't trained in how to validate in terms of like, yeah, is this actually working? Then we aren't doing it. And it is a waste. At the end of the day, it's a waste of time, money, energy, and resources. And ultimately, it's not getting you closer to the people you're here to serve and to help. So we do need to kind of
exactly.
call it out and say, like, hey, like, it's, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Something good for people to hear. I think a lot
yeah,
of people need to hear that. A lot of people think, oh, let me just create this webinar, or let me just tweak my website, or email list is important and is something that moves you, kind of like moves you forwards. So having an email list, it is important. And building a good email list is also important. Don't do it like I did it in the past, where I created 3 emails and I never went back for like 2 months. That's not going to take you anywhere. Again, learn from your mistakes and make it better.
totally. And be willing to ask the question, is it actually working? What are the metrics
Mm,
that show? Like you said, some people just do the webinar because they see other people doing the webinar and think if I do the webinar, that's great. And then they'll even fill the seats for a webinar. But if it's a free webinar, really looking, well, how many of those people became clients? Like really
yeah,
actually
exactly.
looking at the metrics of, yes, you can post a lot on social media, but just posting and just even having followers or even having some engagement isn't really that much if people aren't becoming clients. We run offline
Yeah,
businesses. We're not social media influencers. We're not getting paid to be on social media. What matters is that we're using it to build trust and bring awareness and all the things so that people ultimately want to work with us and that we are able to bring them into our whatever the setup of our business or our work is.
yeah. Another thing I think is important for people to remember is that first we have to build trust, and that can take time. That's for number one. And then there's this saying that people need to see you at least 7 times or 10 times, something like that, until they actually trust you and buy from you. And a lot of people forget about that. Like when I joined my coaching program, I saw the adverts for a good 6 months until I actually pressed the button. And it's true, it is true, because I saw it every single day. I saw that ads every single day for 6 months. And it took me 6 months to be like, do you know what? It's time. Let's press the button. And it worked.
Yeah, there is Google came out with data and research. Their metrics is for building trust with a brand 7-11-4. So it's 7 hours of interaction. That seems high across 11 touch points and four separate platforms or locations. And again, I don't know how I should do the work to get this to translate for our businesses. That's
I've
kind of like
heard that as well. I've
but
heard
what
that
you're
as well.
saying
Yeah.
is so important because people building trust online, it takes time. And I love that you use your example as a consumer because when we get in the seat of entrepreneurship, it's so easy to lose touch from
Mm,
how it was as a consumer. And then we forget about like what is it like to be a consumer. And so anytime we can be like, yeah, like I'm interested in that, and it took
yep.
me 6 months before I actually engaged. Like that's so valuable. And that Google metric, across 4 platforms, 11 interactions in the 4 different platforms. It's today's consumer. They need to build trust. They need to be free. They need to have time. If they feel like you're locking them in a funnel or if they feel locked in or like you're trying to push them to some place, it automatically has them feel it undermines trust. You need to be out there, being authentic, being true to your message, speaking directly to them without
Yep.
forcing them anywhere. You just need to give them the opportunity, the metaphor of like a playground. They need to be able to try this and then go over here because they're going to be assessing your character and all these different things that they think about you, and it takes time, it takes space, and they need to have the freedom to try different things and see you in different ways and hear different things, whatever that is for
Yep.
them. And yeah, it does take time, and it's fundamental and foundational to everything that we do, and also just the reality of today's consumer. It's different. It's different than
Yeah.
it was in COVID. And you mentioned this earlier before we started recording. COVID times is a really interesting time for online businesses. There was a big surge of businesses, but since
Yeah.
COVID times, consumer behavior has drastically changed
Oh, definitely.
and it's a different landscape.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, I mean, again, like this was before we started recording, you're right. Like everyone started in COVID because everyone was at home. If I would have been at home in COVID, I would also had started. But no, not everyone was. I mean, I could say was lucky to be at home because I've never seen so many people going for walks and walking the dogs and going for rides in a bicycle. I mean, I love driving in the roads. It was awesome, but I maybe I would have preferred to stay at home because I was in a very unsafe job and it was very bad because we turned into a COVID center. So people were getting there to get tested, and most of the people were foreigners and they had no idea what was happening. They were not respecting the rules. So for us that understood was really panicking. But again, everyone started in COVID and it's huge and it's only just growing. So when people think that the market is too saturated, it's not. It is not. It's not. Go forward, do your thing. You got an idea, put it out there. Every day, work on it, improve yourself. That's my message to people. Don't just sit on a sofa thinking, oh, this person has what I have. You can have it too. Get your body to move.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When, as a business strategist, when I'm looking at all of the things in the market, there's actually, although most people, it might feel like there's a demand problem, as in like they can't find the clients and, there's not that many. It's actually the opposite. There's actually a supply problem. We just haven't figured out how to get our businesses going,
Mm,
but there is such a supply problem. The demand is there. We need to do our job. I need to do my job in the role that I'm playing. And we collectively, as the practitioners, healers, coaches, need to do our job, a better job at leveling up our businesses, being really clear so our people can find us quicker, so that we can find them quicker. We need
yeah,
to raise the bar and stop being so general and focus and have the courage to get really clear and get crystal clear and focus on a specific type of person or a specific
yeah,
market so that they can find us, we can find them, because there's absolutely not a demand problem. Like you said, it is a supply problem still. We just haven't figured out the business side. So it can sometimes feel like
yeah.
a demand problem, but it's absolutely not a demand problem.
You know, or when I started, I heard of the avatar, create your client's avatar. And I didn't do that for years, for like a whole year. I was like, this is silly. Why do I need this? This is so silly. And then I was like, oh, this is not silly. This is extremely important. So anyone starting a business, do your client avatar. Get your niche clear and do your client's avatar, because you need to be talking to one person. Because if you're going to be talking to everyone, you're going to be in the loops. Definitely.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up today, I want to ask you about the cost. If it doesn't happen, if you're not able to get your work to where you want to get it or where you know it can go, what's the cost? What's the cost to you, to others, to the world?
You know what? There's absolutely no cost, because I have grown as a person. I've healed. I have no intentions of stopping in my own self development, which means that I'm only just going to be growing. My family is not going to be affected at all whatsoever. I'm not going to lose my home or anything. That is fully safe. So I don't actually see it as a cost of losing something. I actually see it as a cost of earning something, because I've earned a lot, not financially, but I've earned my own sanity, my own peace. I love myself fully and I believe in myself fully. So if my business for some reason doesn't move forwards the way that I've planned to move forward, I can always revamp. I can always start over. I can always choose a different niche, because, like we just said, there's demand for everything. So I don't actually see it as a cost.
Filipa, thank you so much for joining me today to have this conversation. And for those of you who are listening, if any part of this resonated, you're in the right place, please reach out. I want to hear from you. And if you want to reach Filipa directly, the link to her website is in the show notes. Thank you again, Filipa, and to everyone else, thank you for listening. And we'll see you for the next episode of Ren Behind the Practice.